It's a dinosaur.
Must go faster.
I don't remember exactly whether the first time I sat in front of a screen to watch it was in a theatre or on a VHS tape. But I remember the feeling very clearly, the glass of water trembling slightly on the dashboard, the unseen footsteps, and the heavy breathing echoing through the rain as the T-Rex approached. 30 years have passed. Special effects have changed. Dinosaurs have become more familiar, and the cinematic world has grown far louder. But strangely enough, Jurassic Park has not aged at all. In fact, the more you revisit it, the scarier it becomes, and the more there is that we still haven't fully uncovered. Did you know that just 6 minutes of CGI were enough to change film history? The famous T-Rex nearly destroyed the entire set. The Velociraptors in the film never existed that way in real life. And today we're going back to that park to dissect 20 facts that turned Jurassic Park into a legend. 65 million just for marketing. 65 million. Yes, you didn't hear that wrong. That is the amount Universal spent just on marketing for Jurassic Park, more than double the film's actual production budget. Even before it hit theatres, Jurassic Park had already become a global cultural phenomenon. Not through word of mouth, but through one of the most aggressive marketing campaigns in Hollywood history. In 1993, it was almost impossible to walk into any store without seeing the Jurassic Park logo somewhere on lunchboxes, cereal boxes, video games, backpacks, children's pajamas, even McDonald's. Happy Meals. Universal partnered with more than 100 companies, saturating every corner of consumer life months before the release date. This was no longer simple advertising, it was a full-scale takeover of popular culture. What's notable is that the campaign didn't sell characters or plot. What it pushed hardest was the logo, the red and yellow T-Rex skeleton on a black background. Simple, powerful, instantly recognizable, more like a badge than a movie image. Kids wanted to wear it. Adults thought it looked cool, and everyone remembered it immediately. That logo quickly escaped the boundaries of cinema and became a cultural symbol in its own right. 19. Westworld is the precursor to Jurassic Park. Long before Michael Crichton published the novel Jurassic Park, he had already written and directed the 1973 science fiction film Westworld. And surprisingly, the two stories share many similarities. The most obvious difference is that Jurassic Park features dinosaurs while Westworld replaces them with robots. In Westworld, wealthy visitors pay to enter a Wild West-themed amusement park where robots are created to serve every desire of the guests. And just like in Jurassic Park, the system soon breaks down. The robots lose control and begin hunting humans instead. In fact, a large part of Jurassic Park also revolves around visitors becoming prey inside a park that was advertised as completely safe. This directly mirrors the gunslinger in Westworld, a cold, relentless pursuer who never tires and cannot be stopped. 18. The T-Rex's front arms were not useless. For decades, audiences watching Jurassic Park often laughed at the image of a massive T-Rex with tiny arms. Memes, cartoons, and familiar jokes all revolved around the idea that those arms were an evolutionary design flaw. But modern paleontological science suggests the opposite. They were small, but far from useless. According to anatomical studies published in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology and Scientific American, each T-Rex arm could lift more than 180 kilograms. Their strength-to-size ratio was extremely high. The problem wasn't weak arms, it was arms that were incredibly strong relative to their length. Scientists have proposed several plausible explanations. The forearms may have been used to grip prey during biting, especially at close range. They could have helped the T-Rex push itself up after falling, acting as short but extremely powerful supports. Some studies even suggest the arms played a role in mating behaviour, helping with balance or gripping a partner. 17. Spielberg's intent revealed through the smallest details. Recall the scene where Malcolm, dressed entirely in black, stands next to Hammond in his pristine white suit, right in the centre of the park's main hall. This was not a random costume choice. It was Steven Spielberg placing two worldviews in direct opposition, using nothing but visual language. Hammond represents blind optimism, the belief that technology, money, and good intentions are enough to control nature. His white clothing does not symbolise purity, but a dangerous naivete. In contrast, Malcolm, the scientist of chaos theory, wears all black and constantly predicts the worst-case scenario. He is not pessimistic, he is realistic. Spielberg repeats this visual metaphor multiple times. When Grant struggles with the seatbelt and realises that both ends are female, he ties them together with a knot. Immediately after the famous line is spoken,
"Finds a way."
This is not just a clever joke, but a clear visual metaphor for the entire film. Humans attempt to control nature through design, while nature always finds a way beyond that design. 16. The mechanical monster that nearly went out of control. On screen, the T-Rex is terrifying. Off camera, it was even harder to control. The full-scale T-Rex animatronic, built by Stan Winston's legendary effects team, was a mechanical monster weighing roughly 12,000 pounds. Over 6 meters tall and nearly 12 meters long, it was constructed from high-density foam layered over an extremely complex hydraulic framework. But there was one factor the team hadn't anticipated: water. During the famous breakout scene in torrential rain, the T-Rex began to shake and jerk unpredictably. The reason was simple: the foam skin absorbed water like a sponge. Once soaked, the added weight disrupted the machine's fragile balance, causing sudden, uncontrollable movements. At one point, it unexpectedly shifted position between takes, nearly crushing part of the set and leaving the entire crew frozen in shock. From then on, the crew started calling it Robo T-Rex and treated it no differently than a real wild animal. Actors were instructed to keep their distance between takes, while the operators continuously dried it with towels and blasted it with air before each new shot. 15. Masterful sound design. Jurassic Park's secret weapon. More than 30 years later, this scene still leaves audiences holding their breath. And the interesting part is this: what makes it so powerful isn't the image alone. Yes, there's rain, perfect framing, and water rippling in a glass. But what truly locks us into our seats is the sound. The T-Rex roar is not a single sound. It is a deliberate blend: a tiger's roar, the low growl of an alligator, and most notably the long descending trumpet-like cry of a baby elephant. The result is a sound that is both familiar and alien, realistic enough for the brain to believe a massive creature is approaching. Added to this are the ripples in the water glass created by plucking guitar strings hidden beneath the dashboard, acting as a visual overture to the nightmare about to unfold. The result is one of the most suspenseful sequences in film history. And yes, online viewers still point out that the T-Rex enclosure somehow turns into a cliff. But continuity gaps like that can be patched, because when the emotion hits its mark, 14. The most dangerous illusion in Jurassic Park. Are you like me? In great films, I always like to find a shot where I genuinely cannot tell how they pulled it off. There's one right here. the T-Rex running behind the truck, swinging its head and slamming into the side of the vehicle, leaving a deep dent. But everything is moving, so the T-Rex must be VFX, right? There's no way they could have built a dinosaur prop that could actually run like that. But the dent is real. The door was genuinely crushed inward and the handle actually snapped off. That damage is not a visual effect. So the crew must have used a mechanical rig to bend and dent the side of the truck at the exact moment the actors dive out of the way, and only then composite the VFX T-Rex into the shot. The moment happens fast, but the real physical damage to the vehicle is what sells the danger of the dinosaur. 13. A film mistake few people notice: the towel that changes colour in a single cut. Did you notice this? There's a continuity error where Hammond switches from holding a white towel to a pink one. A mistake that's easy to miss, especially since in the previous shot he had just been using a pink towel. This is a very typical continuity error, and it usually happens because a scene is shot across multiple takes and camera angles then edited together from different takes. So why does the towel change colour? The most likely explanation is that there were two different takes in take. A Hammond is holding a white towel. In take B, he's holding a pink one. During editing, the editor chooses the best performance from each take and cuts them together. If the cut happens right when the prop is visible in frame, the error becomes noticeable. So why did they leave it in? Because in editing, there is an almost unbreakable priority rhythm and emotion over perfect continuity. If the correct towel take had weaker dialogue delivery or pacing, they would choose the better performance and accept the continuity sacrifice. Or, if you want to be playful, you can interpret the change the same way the film treats reptilian sex chromosomes, randomly switching from female to male, or just call it a mistake. 12. Velociraptor, a fast, lethal, and terrifyingly intelligent predator. You surely remember the Velociraptors, fast, deadly, and frighteningly intelligent. About 6 feet tall, opening doors, hunting in coordinated packs, and nearly stealing the spotlight in every scene they appear in. But here's the strange truth: that creature isn't really a velociraptor, at least not according to science. Real-life velociraptors were only about the size of a large turkey, roughly 2 to 3 feet tall, feathered, and likely far less nightmarish than their Hollywood counterpart. What Spielberg and Michael Crichton actually depicted in the book and film more closely resembles Deinonychus, a larger, faster, more aggressive predator with the same distinctive sickle-shaped claw. So why not call it Deinonychus Crichton? Once said it was simple, Velociraptor sounds cooler. And he was absolutely right. The name stuck in popular culture. So much so that today, when people hear the word raptor, they immediately think of the kitchen predators from Jurassic Park, not the smaller bird-like animal that actually existed. 11. Jack Horner was chosen as the film's technical consultant. To keep Jurassic Park from turning into a purely imaginary monster movie, Steven Spielberg invited Jack Horner, one of the leading paleontologists in the United States, to serve as a scientific consultant. His task was very clear: make the dinosaurs frightening, but not unscientific. A clear example is the design of the Velociraptors. Initially, the effects team wanted the raptors to have forked tongues that flicked in and out like those of snakes or lizards. Visually, it looked creepy, but Horner immediately objected. He explained that forked tongues are a trait of reptiles that hunt using scent, whereas theropods, like raptors, are more closely related to birds. Keeping that detail would have assigned the raptors an entirely incorrect evolutionary path. Thanks to Horner, the idea was dropped. His influence also appears in smaller but more subtle details. For example, the scene where a raptor's breath fogs up the glass in the kitchen. This detail is not just there to heighten tension, it also subtly suggests that dinosaurs had high body temperatures, a scientific hypothesis that was still debated in the early 1990s. 10. The instantly recognizable emotional score of Jurassic Park. The moment you hear the sweeping main theme as the helicopter approaches Isla Nublar, you know you are about to experience something special. But while the music sounds effortless, the legendary composer behind it, John Williams, was in very poor physical condition during its creation. When composing Jurassic Park, Williams was recovering from a severe back injury that left him unable to sit or conduct for long periods. He worked through intense pain, composing much of the score while standing pacing or lying down. At times, the pain was so severe that an uncredited conductor had to step in to lead parts of the recording sessions while Williams listened and gave notes from the control room. Despite these physical hardships, Williams created one of the most iconic film scores in cinema history. 9. The legendary logo actually came from the original novel's cover. Look at this familiar logo. I would bet that the Jurassic Park logo is one of the most recognizable logos in film history. The silhouette of the T-Rex skeleton inside that bold red and yellow frame became more than just an image, it became a brand. What most people don't know is that this iconic design did not originate in a studio boardroom or a Hollywood art department. It came from the cover of the original novel. Designer Chip Kidd created the cover for Michael Crichton's 1990 book, using a stylized version of a T-Rex skeleton based on scientific diagrams. When Spielberg's team began developing the film, they immediately saw its potential. They licensed Kidd's design and handed it to Sandy Calora and the film's creative team to refine it, sharpening the lines, adjusting the proportions, and placing it inside the now famous red and yellow badge. What makes it so effective is its simplicity. No flashy graphics, no clutter. Just a clean, bold symbol that feels both prehistoric and modern at the same time. It isn't just a movie logo. It looks like the emblem of a real theme park you might actually see on Fence's Jeep doors and souvenir merchandise. 8. The harsh CGI era of Jurassic Park. In today's era, when CGI is poured onto the screen in overwhelming amounts, it is easy to forget just how groundbreaking and labour-intensive the visual effects of Jurassic Park once were. In 1993, every single second a dinosaur appeared on screen was a massive challenge. To put it into perspective, a single CGI frame of a dinosaur could take up to 6 hours to render. At 24 frames per second, that meant nearly a full week of computation for just 1 second of finished footage. At the time, Industrial Light and Magic ILM was working right at the edge of technological limits. Computers ran non-stop in early render farms, frequently overheating or crashing midway through the process. Visual effects. Artists had to monitor each shot closely, and if even one frame was flawed, the entire render sequence often had to be restarted from the beginning. Because the process was so slow, Spielberg and his team were forced to be extremely economical. Every CGI dinosaur appearance had to truly matter. That is why the entire film contains only about 6 minutes of CGI dinosaurs, but nearly every shot leaves a strong impression. 7. Dilophosaurus, the most successful invented dinosaur in film history. Do you remember it? The Dilophosaurus, with its flaring frill and venom-spitting attack, small, sneaky, and taking down the arrogant Dennis Nedry with a sudden deadly surprise. The problem is almost everything about that dinosaur is fake. In reality, the real Dilophosaurus was much larger, about 20 feet long and potentially as tall as a raptor. It did not have a flaring neck frill, and there is no evidence that it could spit venom. Those details were entirely Hollywood inventions. Spielberg and writer Michael Crichton knew they were bending the truth, but they did so deliberately. They wanted a more unpredictable dinosaur, something that would catch audiences off guard. The retractable frill was inspired by cobras and frilled lizards, while the venom was added purely to raise the stakes. The practical effects team built a full animatronic Dilophosaurus for the scene, complete with a hidden cannon that fired black slime to simulate venom. To make it even more frightening, they gave it jerky, twitchy movements and layered its screeches with real animal sounds such as hawks, monkeys, and even snakes. The result was a creature that terrified audiences but had almost no scientific basis. 6. The shaking water cup when Spielberg created fear through physics. One of the most suspenseful moments in Jurassic Park has nothing to do with roars or chases. It is a glass of water. As the T-Rex approaches, we see perfect concentric ripples spreading across the surface of a cup sitting on the dashboard. That tiny effect alone was enough to make an entire theatre hold its breath. Creating it, however, was far from simple. Spielberg had a very specific vision. He wanted the water to vibrate as if the footsteps of a god were approaching. The crew tried almost everything. They shook the vehicle, stomped around the set, and even placed subwoofers beneath the dashboard, but nothing produced the clean, precise ripples he wanted. The breakthrough came from an unexpected place: special effects. Supervisor Michael Lantieri, while playing guitar at home, noticed that a vibrating guitar string caused a glass of water on the table to ripple in exactly that way. So the team ran a guitar string beneath the cup and plucked it at just the right frequency, creating those smooth, haunting waves. 5. Triceratops, the first dinosaur filmed for Jurassic Park.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You might think the first dinosaur filmed for Jurassic Park would be a loud spectacle with roaring sounds and earth-shaking footsteps. But no, it was a quiet moment instead. Dr. Ellie Sattler, kneeling beside a sick Triceratops, breathing heavily, its massive flank rising and falling. That moment became the emotional heartbeat of the film, and it stunned the entire crew. The reason was simple. Up to that point, no one had ever seen a full-scale animatronic dinosaur operate so convincingly. Stan Winston's team spent months perfecting this Triceratops. Every scale, every breath, every blink was meticulously crafted, but when it was first activated on set, even the most experienced crew members could not hide their amazement. There are accounts that some crew members were genuinely moved. A few actors admitted they momentarily forgot that the creature in front of them was not alive. That level of realism created a ripple effect throughout the entire production. 4. The cutscene of Tim Murphy riding a baby Triceratops. Deep in the original script of Jurassic Park, there once existed a scene that could have melted the heart of any audience member: Tim Murphy riding a baby Triceratops. Yes, really. Amid the chaos near-death escapes and T-Rex attacks, the film once planned to pause and give viewers a gentle moment, a wide-eyed child interacting with a young, ancient creature. A baby Triceratops animatronic was actually built to scale, capable of smoothly moving its head and legs. Tim would climb onto its back, pet it, and share a brief moment that showed his connection to dinosaurs was not only fear, but also curiosity and empathy. The idea was to emphasize that not all dinosaurs were monsters. In the end, Spielberg decided to remove the scene before filming. The reason was simple pacing. Jurassic Park already had several slower moments, and he worried that this tender scene, though sweet, would deflate the tension he was carefully building. On top of that, the effects schedule was tightening and the budget was rising, so every second of footage had to justify its existence. 3. The T-Rex was originally not part of the final climax at all. Originally, the T-Rex was not supposed to appear in the final sequence. Only the raptors among the hanging fossil skeletons with Grant, using a mechanical, marionette-like device to defeat them. But Steven Spielberg realized something crucial. The T-Rex was the true star of Jurassic Park. Audiences were not just afraid of it, they were waiting for it. So he decided to break the original structure and bring the T-Rex back, transforming it from a threat into an accidental savior of the humans. Its final appearance with the thunderous roar and the banner reading, "When dinosaurs ruled the earth falling down," was not just action. It was a legendary moment. After that, the pace slows. The group returns to the helicopter. Hammond looks back at the park, the dream that nearly consumed everything, and flinches when Grant touches his hand. He is still shaking, realizing that he has gone too far. 2. One of the most suspenseful chases belongs to the Gallimimus. One of the most nerve-wracking moments in Jurassic Park is the Gallimimus stampede, when Alan Grant and the children cross an open field as dozens of bird-like dinosaurs sprint past in chaotic motion. The scene unfolds in a flash, wild, frantic, and completely alive. But here is the interesting truth. The movement of those galloping dinosaurs was actually built from humans. The animators at ILM had no real reference footage of actual Gallimimus, after all. They went extinct 70 million years ago. To imagine how a herd might move, they went out to a parking lot, ran in circles in formation, and filmed each other while pretending to be dinosaurs. From there, they analysed how humans naturally cluster scatter, avoid obstacles and trigger chain reactions within a crowd, then translated those behaviours into animation. To enhance the sense of speed and mass, the team also studied the movement of large birds and ostriches, blending real-world biology with cinematic imagination. 1. A dinosaur movie with only about 15 minutes of dinosaurs. For a movie about dinosaurs, Jurassic Park actually hides them for most of its runtime. The film runs over 2 hours, but if you add up all the scenes that feature dinosaurs, you get only about 15 minutes. And the real shock is this: only 6 minutes of that are CGI. The rest comes from animatronics puppetry and smart film editing. Spielberg followed the classic lesson of Jaws: less is more. By restraining the appearance of the dinosaurs and constantly building tension, he made every reveal feel massive, terrifying, and unforgettable. The first full dinosaur reveal does not appear until nearly 20 minutes into the film. And the T-Rex does not truly emerge until close to the middle, but once it does, no one forgets it. This restraint was not only an artistic choice, but also a practical one. CGI in 1993 was both expensive and slow. A single frame could take up to 6 hours to render. So Spielberg and the effects team exploited every possible tool, sound, lighting, camera angles, and editing rhythm to stretch a few minutes of dinosaurs into the feeling of an entire world under siege. So what about you? Which moment from Jurassic Park 1993 is the one you remember most? Leave a comment, and if you want to continue unlocking other deleted scenes from Hollywood's golden age, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. You will be surprised by what Hollywood has kept hidden from you for decades.